I just need absolute Superman and absolute Wonder Woman to let absolute Batman get up. Because, you know, when you're stepping on necks, you're not supposed to let up. And when I tell you this issue of absolute Superman is about to break absolute Batman's neck, oh my god. Welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. K. Knight, here to give you proper diagnosis and prognosis, everything comics and comic book characters. And we are on issue 4. Yeah, for absolute Superman. And I am just so thoroughly impressed. So, basically, it's Lois Lane who has been chasing absolute Superman across the world at this point. And she's talking to all of these people about the Superman. So she's, you know, she's like, I know he's like a friend to you. He protected you. He got that crane lifted off of you. And just like all this stuff, she's talking to all of these people across the world, Botswana, India, Brazil, etc., about their experience with the Superman, and they're like protecting him or whatever. And so the final lady, who has a cut on her eye and her eye is covered up, she's like, I just have one more question. Who gave you that cut on your eye? Almost as if she really wanted to accuse Superman of that for some strangely odd reason. But actually, it was one of the Peacemakers. And she wasted exactly 0 seconds before she whooped his ass and put him under arrest. Because he assaulted someone just for what? Because they're not giving you the answer that you want? It's insane. So it then flips over to them basically responding to her and how they're like, we've looked for him ourselves. We can't find him. He's a whisper among screams. And just their like description of him is very poetic, because he comes in, he's quiet, he assists, he helps. And they're like, y'all are going to encounter his rage. And we feel kind of bad for him, because at some point he's not going to be able to stop himself when he gets really, really pissed off. And it's going to be the end for y'all. And she's like, you know, one of them says that she's chasing a storm, things like that. And so particles of his suit, which are like, it's like the cape part, which is kind of just like a kinetic sand, are floating around everywhere from places that he's been. And she's like, I am the storm and you're not going to get away from me. So he's like, so she gets a call from her father, who is pissed off because she's refusing her security detail. And basically she's like, they're a bunch of idiots, I don't need them. And he's talking to her about the Superman, and she's like, you know, I did talk to him. I've chased him across like 6 continents. I've stood in every place that he's been. I've talked to these people and nobody is giving him up. That's all I need, is for somebody to give him up to me. That's it. And then he starts talking to her about the Omega Men, who are going around about freedom, which he doesn't seem to believe in. And after all of that is said and done, she hangs up and she's like, you know, I'm going out. So she's going out through the city and she's being like stalked by someone, and you can just tell that she's incredibly interested in Superman, but she doesn't know why. Meanwhile, they do have a Brainiac AI system, and one of the Peacemaker agents, his name is Smith, is in a therapy session because of someone he killed or something like that. He's basically saying to the Brainiac machine that his gun misfired, or that he just missed, and he actually really needs to talk to a person and not just an AI system, because there's something mentally wrong with him, and he's like trying to explain it away, and the AI system is not necessarily helping. So it's just like, oh, well, we're just going to send you a new gun since the gun misfired and you're going back to duty immediately. No. something is happening with him and he needs help. And he actually says please. So he recognizes the fact that he does need help, but he's not getting it. And that seems to be the problem here, is that they probably all need psychological help and they're not actually getting it. Now, while she is in the city, she does run into someone who is with the Omega Men, and he's like, who are you, or whatever, or she says, who are you? Anyway, they know who she is. She doesn't know who they are. And he starts talking to her while they're fighting about being on the right side of this. The fact that she's looking for Superman and she doesn't know why and all this other stuff. And he's basically telling her that she needs to be on the right side this time, and that she is too smart to believe in the Lazarus propaganda of Lazarus being life and all this other stuff. And she's like, I know you're trying to talk me out of something or into something. It's not working. And then Omega Prime shows up and starts firing at her, and she's like, God damn, my dad was right. And then the Brainiac alarm goes off and calls for the other officers to come in, which is exactly what she doesn't want. So after her and Primus are like fighting, she's like, I'm an old friend of the family, so it's like a hint of some sort, probably the reason why her father has no legs. So they're fighting, and fucking Superman shows up, of course, and they're like, oh my god, Superman, we found the Superman, let everybody know. And she's like, we stand ready with you to fight against the Lazarus project and all this other stuff, and we're ready to help you. And he literally like flicks her away, like, shut the fuck up talking to me. After that, he turns to Lois and is like, stop fucking looking for me. And she's like, I just want to talk. He's like, I don't have anything to say to you. So then, of course, the fucking peacemakers show up, and they're all like, oh my god, it's him. And Smith, I'm pretty sure is the one, was like, do you remember me? And he's like about to fire, and he's like, no, and uses his ice breath to freeze them all. And then he ends up leaving. So of course she's pissed. She's like, y'all just fucked that up for me. Why are you even fucking here, bro? And so she ends up leaving. Now later it shows that they have to restrain Smith, grab his gun, and he's like screaming and hollering about Superman spit on them, and he spit on them like they were nothing and all this other stuff. And it just pans out that he killed all of those people that were there because they were taking pictures of the fact that the peacemakers got frozen. And I mean, I thought it was funny. So like, because they were laughing at what happened, he literally shot and killed all of those people. And the other peacemakers just like, oh, you didn't do anything. You just brought down a fucking storm on us. Yeah, you did. Because Superman is about to go absolute ape shit when he finds out what the fuck y'all just did. This was amazing. It's very often that I am very disappointed in Superman stories because they feel out of place, and it feels like the person who's writing the current Superman story, and it's just in like the main continuity, it feels like the person who's writing that current Superman story, and they switch people, like they switch writers. It's as if that writer for the new Superman story did not read what came before it. So we have all of these inconsistencies, like with the storyline, with his power, with his attitude, with his personality, and things like that. And his writing has just become so inconsistent that it's very aggravating, which is why I typically contend that he is one of the worst characters written in DC, because he's not ever written consistently. Batman is another one where they don't consistently write him, but it's not nearly as bad. Like, it's not nearly as noticeable, but Superman's is very, very clearly noticeable. And all of like the different versions, none of them mesh. It's a lot whenever they do something. So this one being consistently good throughout is really good. The one thing that I just not fathoming is that it has not concentrated on Superman like how the other two are concentrating on their main characters. I'm not saying that they don't talk about Superman, but it kind of seems like they picked point in each of the Trinity's life where like to start. So we have all of them at these different ages. Fucking Superman is literally like 16. So like he's been on Earth for 6 years. We don't know if his parents like went with. We get a lot of information about his parents, like more information than we've ever really gotten about them. We definitely see them more, but like even in the first issue, they talked so much about the other people, and then Superman showed up at some point, and it was like, okay, cool, Superman's here. So the different angle that Absolute Superman has taken versus the other two is very interesting. But I do like it. And I'm really excited to see what's going on, because again, I'm very curious as to what happened that day on Krypton 6 years ago, because he's been on Earth for 6 years. So I'm interested in seeing what happened, because he also had an impact on Martha Kent. So, and that's like a really short amount of time based compared to his usual background where he was sent off Krypton as a baby. Well, he's not a baby this time, he's 10. So what happened there? But I'm really enjoying it, and I honestly hope other people are too. This issue was absolutely spectacular. The artwork is amazing. The story is pushing right on along. So I'm very interested to see how this goes, especially since he seems to be the younger of the three, technically. So we'll see. But that is it, honestly, for this episode of The Doctor's Office. Check the podcast. If you haven't gotten the book, get the book. And I will see you guys at your next appointment.